Back to politics today. We're looking at the aftermath of the Edo governorship elections and the issues raised therein. I've been speaking with Mr. Clem Nwankwo. He's the Executive Director of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. Mr. Nwankwo, just before we took that time out, you talked about vote buying, and I asked if this was happening right before the security agencies in place. Is that not an indictment on the security operatives?
I think it's an indictment on an electoral system and practice that allows that vote buying could occur right in the presence of security agencies, that there is no process or mechanism for controlling this. There should be a process that brings to apprehension immediately those kinds of illegal activities going on right in the presence of security agencies, but also right in the presence of voters. We saw cases where the voting cubicles were placed in such a way that party agents could watch and see that those that they have given money to buy their votes actually thumbprint in the right spot. Again, this is a challenge for INEC, that it did not take sufficient steps to ensure that the voting cubicles were kept in such a way that the party agents couldn't monitor how voters voted, violating the right to vote secrecy of voters. So I think it's a major challenge. I think the country needs to begin to address the issue of money in politics. I worry for Edo State in terms of whichever party would have won, there would have to be a lot of resources of the state spent either by whoever is coming in to pay off wherever that money is coming from, or if it's coming even from the
if I may come in here, Mr. Nwankwo, you've actually said two contradictory things. When you began, you said it was a credible process, and now you say you feel sorry for Edo State, considering the fact that perhaps the outcome of the election was induced or was tilted, was slanted to a particular direction because of vote buying. What does this portend? Would you describe that process as free and indeed fair?
Well, certainly my point.
Go ahead, Mr. Nwankwo.
My point is really that you did have vote buy-in by all sides, so it wasn't so much a question that it was one party or the other that was buying. Perhaps one party may have spent more than the other, and the reason that I say I feel pity for the state is that whichever party won, if it was won by one party that wasn't in power, so much more money would have been spent to pay off electoral debts. If it's won by a party in power, then it means that so much resources from the state would have gone into funding what was huge money spent in getting the votes.
All right, then.
But it is sad for the country that so much money is being spent. We did see that in the 2015 general elections, and we have seen a lot of the corruption trials going on arising from the ways monies were taken out of the public treasury and spent on funding elections. This should never be allowed to happen. And of course,
Mr. Nwankwo,
these are breaches the right to free votes. It's certainly not something that INEC could have decided, but I think that it's the fault of the political parties, and the law enforcement agencies should be well placed to apprehend these parties that spend so much money.
Okay, so Mr. Nwankwo, going forward, what should be put in place to safeguard our electoral process? Very briefly, please.
Very briefly, I think that the collation process, like I mentioned, was faulty. We need to find out the best ways to make it more instantaneous. There should be no reason why collation of votes should take close to 12 hours or even longer. This is certainly not acceptable. It opens up the room for manipulation. So I think perhaps we need to look at what we can do to improve technology in the collation process. Secondly, I think that the law enforcement agencies, maybe perhaps a special unit within the police, should be created away from the political influence that we sometimes see happen with security agencies, to be able to...
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clem Nwankwo, the Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, for sharing your views with us on the program tonight. Well, that's it on the program tonight. Many thanks for being part of the show. On behalf of myself and the entire team, bye for now.